name is Maddie Langley, and this year for my culminating topic, I focused on Alfred Hitchcock and the different innovations that he brought to the film industry. So, first I just want to explain why I'm interested in this. I am an avid movie watcher. I am constantly watching something new or something old, and I was really interested in, what about a movie really makes me connect? Why am I so scared when I'm watching Rear Window? Or why am I so happy when I'm watching a romantic comedy? What about the movie is affecting me besides the plot and the camera, or besides the plot? It's other things, so many things go into it, and that's what I wanted to study. Also, I did take a video media tech class this year, which really helped me with my research because I got some hands-on experience with sound and lighting and camera angles, storyboarding, all the stuff that goes into pre-production, production, and post-production. I really got to study that stuff and become interested in it, and I got to use it for my project also, so that was really great. And it was just really good to work with Hitchcock because I do think that he is a fascinating man. So first you should know a little bit about Hitchcock. He was a British director first. He started in the silent film industry, but came over to Hollywood and started working with the talkies. And it's really important to remember that he started in silent film because some of those techniques carried over later on into his career. And we'll talk about that later in the presentation. Next, you should know that what kind of director he was. He was very hands-on with his actors. He wanted control of every single aspect of the movie. Storyboarding is something that all people do when working on a film, and it's just planning out every single camera angle of the piece. And Hitchcock was very involved in that. He knew down to the T what he wanted from his actors and what effect he was going to try to get. And I just really admire that in him because I think it is important to have a vision and to really know what it is you're going for. And Hitchcock, he was trying to scare his audience. And he was really effective at it because he did so much pre-planning. So that's something about him. Actually, it's interesting, Anthony Perkins from Psycho, he played Norman Bates, and actually as an actor, he wanted to make the stylistic choice of having little pieces of food to kind of munch on in order to imitate the actions of a bird, because that's an important motif throughout the movie. And Hitchcock was very much against the decision because he hadn't thought of that before. He was like, he was very opposed to it at first, but because Anthony Perkins pushed it, Hitchcock actually ended up respecting him very much as an actor. But usually he was very in control of everything that went on the set, and he knew what he wanted. He always wanted that blonde bombshell to be the innocent kind of victim, and he just had a very clear vision and was a very precise director. So next I just want to focus on the different innovations that he brought. The things that we're still seeing in films today that Hitchcock first started delving into. That's the meat of my project and what I really focused on this year. So one of the first areas in the film industry that I think he really started making a large impact on was the plot of the movie. Because he was working in mystery and thrillers and eventually horror movies, he really liked, the first thing that I noticed, the first innovation, was that he really liked to bring chaos to places of order. So, and this shot is from the movie North by Northwest, and there are a lot of examples of Hitchcock bringing complete chaos to places that are supposed to be safe and that are supposed to be orderly, because he wanted his audience to feel like there's nowhere that is actually safe. There's nowhere where you can really escape the chaos and the chaos of reality, basically. So for example, in this movie, there is a shot where they're in a very high security government building, but someone gets stabbed, and you're like, who did it? Like, how did they even get a knife into the building? It's just completely random, and he really liked to mess with his audience in that way. He also liked to introduce a lot of twists to the plot. I remember watching the movie Vertigo. Sorry, there's a lot of spoiler alerts in this presentation, but I remember watching the movie Vertigo, and you kind of fall in love with this girl. She's beautiful, and she's really struggling with who she is. She's like having this basically identity crisis, and then at the end she trips off the edge of a building and dies. And you're like, wow, Hitchcock, why would you do that to me? But it's just, he really loved to do that. Also in the movie Psycho, there's another beautiful woman, blonde woman, and you kind of fall in love with her story, and you're really interested in what's going to happen with this money. Oh no, the cops are following her. And then in the first 30 minutes of the movie, she dies, and you're like, what? The main character's dead. What am I supposed to do now? And Hitchcock really, as a director, really liked to mix things up and introduce things that you were not expecting at all. Lastly, the last innovation that he brought to plot were certain motifs that I think reflected his personality. For example, he was really fascinated with the idea of voyeurism, which is just the idea that someone is always watching you. You don't know what your neighbors are doing behind their windows, but Hitchcock liked to kind of break in and see what was going on. For example, the movie Rear Window is all about that. He was really just interested in kind of, watching what other people do, and the idea that someone's also watching you. He also really liked the motif of birds. There is the movie Birds, which obviously has a lot of them in it, but there is also a lot of taxidermied birds in the movie Psycho. I think he just really liked the idea of their kind of, you can't tame them or control them. They're kind of sporadic and just peckish and kind of creepy, and that's the effect that he was really going for. So the next innovation that he really brought to the film industry were camera angles. I didn't never realize until this year how important camera angles are to a movie. There's a complete difference between just having a shot on someone's face and really, as you can see here, getting up close and personal to capture the emotions that are going on, to capture all the terror in her face in this shower scene. Also just getting the shot kind of above Anthony Perkins here in this picture so that he has these creepy shadows under his eyes. Just the different techniques like that were really important, and he really liked to manipulate them. Also, he introduced, I think one of the most important things he did with the camera was introducing the dolly zoom effect. It's also been known now as the vertigo effect because he was the first one to really explore the technique and introduce it in a film. So this is the movie Vertigo. This is James Stewart, and he is at the top of this tower, this church tower, and he is experiencing vertigo, but the audience also gets to experience it because of the innovations that Hitchcock brought. It's just the idea that the camera and the person is moving in opposite directions, so the camera could be zooming in, but the person is fading away. And it just creates this effect of vertigo, but also of this like out-of-body kind of experience. It really conveys to the audience that the subject on the screen is not in control, and they're just kind of this, it's just this really trippy effect that Hitchcock pioneered, and I think is really effective. So it has been given the term vertigo effect because it began here, but it also carries over into other films. As you can see here in the movie The Shining, this is not a Hitchcock film, but we can see that he did make an effect on other movies, because it is used in this scene where Jack Nicholson kind of starts losing his mind, and it really just, the audience realizes, oh my gosh, he's not okay. He is starting to lose it. We also see this effect in not just horror films, but also in everyday things, like it's in The Lion King, it's in Michael Jackson's Thriller video. There are so many places where this appears because Hitchcock first used it. And it's just so important to realize the different ways you can use it, but I just think it's really cool that he was the first one, and doesn't get a lot of credit for that, but that's okay. So lastly, I decided to try to imitate Hitchcock with my product this year, which was about a 5-minute film. The plot is pretty creepy. I think Hitchcock would have thought of something kind of that creepy. There is a plot twist. I did try to use different camera angles that would create a little creepier effects by like zooming in on people's faces really closely to track their emotions, and it has the idea of voyeurism. It's just a lot of different things I tried to capture. I had a lot of fun studying Hitchcock this year. I loved his movies, and hopefully you like the product, and hopefully you like the presentation. So thank you.